Right.
So
Yeah,
it's yellow now, and
it's saying live. And I can go, I think. Well, welcome. We are in session 2 of SQL for Virtual FoxFest. I'm so excited to be here. Right now, my adrenaline's through the roof. I wish I could see all your bright, sunny faces. It's always a pleasure to meet people face to face, but this is the next best thing. Please ask questions, and Doug will help us with that. Here today, we're going to be going over SQL Server Reporting Services, a new beginning. And let me just click the slide here. About me, I have been working in software since the 80s. Yeah, I almost don't want to admit that. Fox development most of the time, DBase to Fox. SQL Server, over 10 years now. It's hard to believe it's just been that long. I just got into SSRS and Visual Studio and the SQL Server data tools just December. So not even a year yet in that. I have a little HTML and CSS, but I love what I do. And I love helping customers do their job better. I'm highly involved with the community. I belong to a couple of groups. And I apologize to the SPID because I forgot to change this slide. Part of BLAS, which is the Greater Lansing area for SQL Server. SPID, it's SQL People in Detroit, in their Southfield. And then I go to various conferences. Most of them, because of COVID, are online. There was SQL Saturdays, not doing that so much, but there's talk of that coming back. There's 8KB, which does a deep dive into SQL Server. Some really, how does SQL Server do what it does? You know, the nuts and bolts of it. It's a great conference to be involved with. And it's much like the Virtual FoxFest conference that we're attending now. There's also Group Buy, and that was started by Brent Oatsar. All of them free. Gotta love it. Also, just a little bit, I'm a speaker. I've been here with Virtual FoxFest. This is my 3rd time with them because I did the fall last year and then I did spring, and now here we are again. I've also spoken at SPID and GLASS and of course Southwest Fox. And the guy that's missing is my son, David. He was so excited to hear about the conference starting up and he was ready to go to Arizona. I'm like, no, dude, we're here. And he got consoled with pizza. So he's happily eating pizza right now. About this session, we are going to take a beginner's look. We're touching the surface of an exceptional tool called SQL Server Reporting Services. And we're going to get into Visual Studio, and we're going to get into templates called SQL Server data tools. And we'll be talking through creating some of our very first reports. I'm actually going to skip over creating a tabular report, and we're going to dive into creating that matrix report and the drill through report, which does have parameters. And then if we have time, we'll go back to the simple tabular report. So changing things up a little bit already, but I want to make sure you understand the drill through, and that's so important. So we're just taking a beginner's look. So we're going to play, we're going to investigate, we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to have fun learning about it. Prerequisites, if you're interested in this, I'm not going to be talking about installing SQL Server. We're going to be using SQL Server 2019. SQL Server Reporting Services needs to be installed. Visual Studio and SQL Server data tools also need to be installed. It is also extremely helpful for you as a developer to be able to write well-formed SQL Server queries. SSRS does take a hit in performance. However, if you can write good SQL statements, it's half the battle. So what we're going to do, we're going to get started with the graphical interface. We're going to actually dive into the interface, and we're going to start creating our reports. And then we'll learn the graphical as we go along. It's going to be hands-on, well, my hands, right? And we're going to define the data source. Where's the data coming from? In this instance, we're going to be coming from SQL Server. We're going to create simple tabular report. We're going to skip that one, and we're going to go create our matrix report with parameters, and we're going to create a drill through report. So let's just jump in. And this time I'm going to turn off my camera. So you'll hear my voice, but you'll see me later. All right. Oop. Okay, get this going. So here we go. So we are going to be doing our friendly neighborhood wizard. And I'm going to switch over to Visual Studio. And we're going to start, and we're going to create, so I just started up SQL Server, and I'm going to go back one because I got ahead of myself. So you come into Visual Studio, and here I have a couple reports already produced, but we're going to start all over again. We're going to create a new project. And to find one of those templates, we're going to go SQL Server Report Services. It's thinking. And here, SQL Server Data Project. There we go. We're going to look at this Report Server Project Wizard. Okay, and we're going to go next. And what is the name of our report project? So we are going to call it VFP. And it's virtual fox test. And the path that we're going to do, take all care of this boring stuff first, and we can take care of placing the solution, and we're going to go create. And here comes this lovely report wizard. I like this report wizard. It makes things really simple to get started. Remind you again, I started in December, so this has been very helpful for me. It builds confidence in what I am doing. So let's go next. And we are going to create a data source, and we're going to give it a name. And the data source is where is the data coming from. And I'm going to call it VentureWorks 2017 because that's the database I'm going to use. The type is SQL Server. As you can see, there are a whole slew of different types that we can select from, but my favorite right now is SQL Server. So we're going to do that. Here, we're going to select the server name, and the server name for my machine is, but it will also do a drop-down list. That does take a little bit of time, so I'm not going to do that. But if you have any SQL servers, and I've got quite a few, they will show up in that list. And the database that I'm going to be using is VentureWorks. And I'm going to want to test that connection. And yay! Test connection succeeded. And we're going to click OK. And you'll notice, select the data source, that it automatically now, it filled in the connection string for me. Okay? And we're going to click Next. Query Builder. Query Builder is a wonderful tool, and I'm going to get to that when we do the simple tabular report. But right now, I want to do the matrix report. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to paste the query in here. And what I am doing is I am creating basically like where I am going to now, because it's a matrix reports, we're going to have it so that the year is for each of the rows and the month is going to be the columns, and we're going to show the total sum. And it's coming from the VentureWorks, the sales order header. And if you will notice that we have a where clause with a parameter here, okay? And in SQL Server, this would be a declare statement, and you would have to declare what that value was. But here, I'm just going to leave it. And I'm grouping by the year, and I'm grouping by the month, and it's ordered by year and month. So I'm going to click Next. and I'm going to come and make the matrix report. Therefore, and if you notice on the middle right-hand side, it will change what you're looking for. So it's really a neat tool to see what kind of report you're going to be creating. So I'm going to click Next. And now it says design the matrix. And so we're going to actually start selecting what fields we are going to be using. So for the columns, we're going to drag in month. And you'll notice to the right here, you can see that it's highlighted in yellow. And the report, let me drag the report over to rows, and you'll see that the rows are selected here. And then the total is part of the detail. And again, this picture is showing you exactly what it's going to do. And what's really cool, let me just play here a little bit because I told you we're going to play. You can actually up arrow and it will do stuff for you. And it's just, it gives you many different ways. If you didn't want something there, you can actually remove it. But we're here, we're finished, and we're going to move on. So next. And I'm going to give this a name, and I'm going to call it, we're going to call it the sales year month report. Yeah, it's pretty boring. I know, not very much imagination. Okay, so here we're going to preview the report. And it's thinking, and it's tabulating. And not real sure why it's taking so long. Oh, what happened? There it is. Whew. There you go. So because I had the parameters in there, it's actually looking for a starting year. So, and this is a bug I would consider, is it's not showing me a title over to my left. And to each of these, but this is the starting and ending years. So if I just know that I put those dates in, now those labels show up, and hey, voila, we've got our matrix report. Now it's not so pretty, is it? But you can see where we have our years going down the left-hand side and the months, January, February, March, but in numeric form going across the top. So and this is the preview mode. All right, so let's go into the design mode. And there is our report in design mode. Above are the parameters. Okay, and what we're going to do is I want you to look here to the left under the report data. And here, you remember we created a data source called AdventureWorks. So, and there it's there, and you can click and you can go to the properties, and you can look at, and it'll take you right back to that report wizard that we had looked at. Now I'm going to cancel that. Also, the data sets. Here we have our query. So if I come here, we will see we can now actually change our data set name. So I'm going to call this year month. Okay, sales. That's a good one. And we can see that our data source is AdventureWorks 2017, and there's our text. If you need to go back to the query designer, you can actually come back here, and it would bring you to the query designer. And you can edit here as well. All right, and also parameters. Here, the SSDT automatically created our parameters based off of our T-SQL statement, and we can select the value here. And there is a drop down, so you can select between the two. And it selected correctly because it created the parameters. So let's click that. All right, the parameters. Here, and it's here as well, so it's pointing to that spot on and there's the parameter properties. And we can now, instead of it saying end start, we can just actually have it say end start year, okay? And we can also set a default if we wanted to. We can specify a value, and we can say 2011. And the reason I know that is because I'm familiar with the data. And then we can do the same, and you'll notice that it does change the value for the parameter. We also come here to the end, go to end year, come to this, and we're going to change that prompt. And the default right now, I'm going to specify as 2014, because I do know that that's the end of this particular set of data. It goes from 2011 to 2014. So if I preview this again, it automatically fills in those parameters for me. And that is so very helpful. So I don't have to spend the time over and over in design mode to automatically fill that in. So yay, I've taken care of the parameters so that they look a little bit prettier. And just so you know, I can actually move them down. Let me see if I can do this. I'm going to have to insert a row below, and I can now move that here. And so you can have a different look and feel if you like, and delete the extra column. Again, if I run it, now it looks like that. It's just it's so easy to do. So anyway, there's the parameters. So this report looks okay, but let's look about the interface here in SSDT. So here, these are text boxes, and this is the table that it creates. It's actually called a matrix. You can actually click on the properties and, oops, I'm in the wrong, let me see if I can get this. Sometimes clicking on this stuff gets hard, and there it is, the Tapex properties. And it's called Matrix 1, and you can give it tooltip text, and you can give it other things with page breaks, row headers, where you can repeat the row header and such. So, but anyhow, so we can make changes here, but we're not going to look at those right now. Here, this is a text box, and you have various tools. When you come to the report, I have in my toolbox is where you find them. There's a pointer, there's a text box, there's lines, and so forth and so on. And in here, this is a text box. And I can right click on here, and I can make this an expression. Now, this expression, I want it to say year. And it'd be nice if I typed it in correctly. So, and if you notice, let me go back, you'll see that there's a squiggly line. It'll tell you that there's something wrong with this expression. And when I put the double quotes back, there now says no issues. And this is just saying it's a label, basically. And in this expression, we need to use double quotes. Single quotes will produce an error. So always double quotes. So I click here, and it gives me an expression. And what's really nice is the tool properties. Let me click up here. The properties for the selected text box, I can change various things through this property sheet, but I find this property sheet cumbersome to navigate. So what I can do is I can, let me click here, and I can now go to the text box properties here. And I find that it's easier to use this. A best practice would be actually giving this a label. So label. And you can now go and you can actually look at the expression. It's another way to get in and look at the expression. And I'm going to cancel that. If it was a number, which this is not, but this is a way of formatting. So you can, if it was number, and this reminds me of Excel, right? So you can change things around. You can use the separation of decimal. There's for date and everything else. Alignment. Right now, the alignment is by default, and the horizontal, I want it to show up right. And the vertical, just so you know, there's top, middle, and bottom. I'm just going to use the default. And there's padding. Also, I can change the font if I like to. And I'm going to make this, chiller, since we're getting close to Halloween, which happens to be my son's favorite time of year. We're going to use chiller. And what I'm going to do too is I'm going to select the maroon for the color. So, and you can also make things bold, you can make them metallic, you know, and just do all kinds of things within this text box property. And I'm going to make this a font 12. Borders, you can have various borders. You can do an outline if you like, and right now it's really hard to see because it's a light gray, so let's make this black. So I can click, and now I've got a black outline. I'm just going to leave that alone, and I'm going to make that, and what else? Oh, let's make this light gray again. That's silver. Oh, light gray. Okay, good enough. So I'm going to take that off, and we're going to do none. That's better. So also I can fill this in. I can fill in the color, and we will make it a pretty gold orange. And there's some other things where we can show. And I'm going to click OK at this point. So now we have our year. And then here's the report month. And what it's doing is, again, if you hover, you'll see this little box here. And you can see where you can select from report year, month, and totals. Of course, we're going to keep it as report year. However, I don't want it to show 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm actually going to come into my expression, and I'm going to now use some of these various categories. And what's really cool, there's constants, which I don't have any. There's built-in fields as well. There's like execution time, when was it printed, page numbers, and we'll actually put that in the footer. There's parameters. We can display our parameters if we want to. The fields from the table, the cursor, our content, we can also include that. And if you notice up above, it says fields report month. And so we are actually using this one right here. Data sets. This is showing our data set, which is the year month sales. We can also look at variables. There's various operators too. Arithmetic, comparisons, concatenations, logic, and some other good things. But my favorite area is the common functions. And I'm going to actually, and there's for text, and I mean, look at all this. We have a lot that we can do. And what's nice is they sort of tell you what they already do. So I can format a number, I can do left case, and it's just amazing some of the things you can do. You can do conditionals and those kinds of things. Right now, I want to go to date time. And what I want to do is I want to use this function called month name. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to double click. And what's nice too is that it gives you clues as to what you might want to do. So I want to, and the report month is an integer, right? So 1 would be January, 2 would be February, that kind of thing. And there is then, you can do a comma. And now if I look at the examples here below, I can look at month name and true. And it's saying, the true says, do I want this abbreviated? If I said false, then I don't want it abbreviated. So we can just say false. And now you can also see we have no issues. And we click OK. And let's make this so that it looks a little bit like what we had before. So I just want to change the font. So, and And I just want to make it 12. And I'm going to make it chiller in honor of David. Oops. And I hit the enter key instead of the fill. I want to have that gold, I believe. Yes. And we're going to click OK. Oh, 2 different colors. Okay. So I can actually take my mouse, highlight a section, you know, the text box, and then I can click my Shift key, and now I have both selected. And I can now change it through the property sheets here on the lower right-hand corner, or there's also I can't think. Anyway, so there's toolbars here that we can now come in here, and we should be able to, there we go. And we can now make those the same color. Yay. Oops. And then the font, the foreground, I'm going to make it that maroon. All right. So if I were to do a preview now, look, that was, you can barely see it. And the January and February and March is over to the side. So let me make this different. And we're going to make it bold, and we're going to make it slightly bigger. We're going to make it, say, 20, so we can see it, and I want it to align. So you can now see how we are using the toolbars to manipulate the content of the report and how it would look. So if I click preview, my bold isn't showing up so good, but you can see January, February, March, April. Excellent. But you'll notice that these numbers, they've got lots of decimal places in it, and I don't want to see those decimal places. So, wow. So let's go in here and let's manipulate the totals here. And we'll go into expression. And you'll notice that we've already have this so that it's summing up the totals for total sales. But I want it to look a little bit better. So I can come down to common functions. It's a text. And now I can say format number. And my cursor is right in the front of sum. So I can format the number. And I can say I want 2 decimal places. And I can click OK. All right. And let's do a preview on. Oh, and you'll notice too, one other thing to think is that it's left justified. It's a character based. I actually want it to be right justified. So if I click preview now, it should look a little bit better, and it does. I'm going to stop right here and see if there are any questions.
There's just one. What happens if you choose a bigger font? Will it enlarge automatically for design display?
Yes, and I will do that. Okay, but there's no other questions, correct?
That's it.
Okay, so let me come here. And I'm just going to right-click text box and font. Let's pick 26. Okay, and let me do a preview and watch it make. There you go. Voila. Easy peasy, right? Okay, however, you can't see it very well here, but trust your judgment here. The next thing I would like to do is, so we did the format the name, format the number. Let us go and add the footer information like printed and a page number. This isn't probably a great example because there's only one page for this, but let's demonstrate this anyway. We can add, let me back up a little bit and not get too excited. I'm going to right click in this white area, and I can add a header and I can add a page footer, and I choose to make a page footer. And then what you can do is you can drag, and you can drag the text box over, and then you can move it, and it'll try lining things up. a little bit. There are also some tools. If I had another text box, and I want to do that, there you go. And so if I highlight both of them, you can see where it makes the same height, it makes the same size on the toolbar above. So I'm going to make the same size, and you'll notice I'm still trying to figure this out. When I tell it to align less, watch what it does. And I'm praying it doesn't make a liar out of me. Ah, it did it. So there have been times where it's not doing what I'm expecting it to do, and I can't figure that out yet. So there are times where I'll tell it to, let me see if I can do that again. Select them both and then align, and that's what it was doing. So I'm not real sure what dictates at this point in time, you know, which left it's going to do. I would always expect it to go to the leftmost one, but that's not always occurring. And then in here, the footer, I'm going to add the page number and the time it printed. So here, I'm going to go to the expression. And let's go and put in the time. And there's this thing called an execution time. And I'm just going to click OK. So it'll just say when it was printed. And then the next one, I'm going to add the page. So, and I'm going to say page number plus. And I know that I'm going to do a built-in field. And there are many different pages. There's an overall page, there's a total page. You get to play with that later, or maybe that might be another session, but we're going to pick in the page number, and I'm going to format it. So I'm going to come down to common functions, go to text, and I'm going to format that number, and I'm going to say, there you go, format. So, and it says that there are no issues, and I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to move this over so it's more towards the left. So if I do a preview, oh, look at that. That's in the middle. So there's the page number 1, but my execution time is all the way over. But I'm not real sure why it's doing that. Let's do one more time. And now it's there. I really didn't do anything. There are some things that I'm finding about the SSDT interface that it can be a little disconcerting how it manages things. But if I come back and I refresh, then it seems to be okay. I guess your mileage will vary. So, and then if I wanted to, I can actually change the years, say 2012, and then I can click the view report, and it will recalculate the report, and it's thinking. And there we'll just get the 2 years. Okay. Another thing that I want to show you too is I'm going to save this now. Oh, that's one other thing. If you notice, you can see where there's that little star, and that little star right beside where it says design, it's really hard to see, but it's saying something's changed, right? But if I come over to preview mode, the report, how you have it right now in design mode, has now just been saved. When you go to preview, it saves. So, which can be a blessing and a curse. You want to try something and it didn't work out the way you expected it, and guess what? It got saved when you went to the preview. So that can be a little frustrating at times. All right. The other thing is I'm going to actually come in here, and I am going to close the session because there's something I want to show you. So here we go. We've been in the VF reports, and it'll bring it right back up. Now, if I go to preview, there is a preview bar where before it was missing. When we originally created this report, the preview bar was missing, and I'm not real sure why. It's just a feature. To me, it's a bug, but it's something to be aware of. So save it, come back, and your preview bar will be there. And what's nice is you can refresh, you can send to printer. If there's multiple pages, you can go there. There's print layouts, page setups. If you go to page setup, this looks very familiar too, right? So you can go landscape, and you'll notice that when we go to preview, the screen will not paginate or anything. It'll just give you as much as you want. And I know for a fact that this report won't even fit on a landscape 8.5 by 11, but I can actually export to Excel. And let me see if I can find my folder here. I'm just trying to get to a folder. So we'll just go here, new, and we'll create a folder, output, okay, yay. And so let's see if we can get there. Output, and we're going to save it there. Now, it doesn't automatically bring it up, and that can be frustrating too. So if I come to VFF, go to output, and I double click, there you go. And there it is in Excel. What's nice about this is, you know, you have the content that now your accountant can look at these numbers and everything else. However, because I did formatting on this, it will, these numbers are now considered text, and I would actually have to convert these to numbers, or the accountant would have to. So that can be, you know, so when you're designing your reports, it might be a good idea to figure out the content. I know with my one accountant, I had page after page, thousands of numbers, and she requested it not to be formatted. So she got to see some really large numbers, but then she can manipulate them automatically. Again, you need to know your end users to know what you would actually want to do. So I just wanted to show you that, and I'm not going to save that. So let's go here and let's create some totals. All right, so we're going to create a total at the bottom of this matrix report, and it's going to sum up all of the, for each column, it's going to sum up the months. And I'm going to add a total, and I can, and so there's, let me back up a little bit. So there is report groups, and I can, and it says report matrix 1, report year. And I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to add a total. It's going to be after. So, and what's really cool is it automatically adds the word total there. Sweet. And then if I come to where the month column is, look at that. I can select total sales, and it automatically sums it up for me. And let me, let's just do a preview real quick on that. And now it's summing those up. Okay, and what's really cool, and I'm not going to do it, but you can actually export this to Excel and confirm that these numbers are correct. So let's go back to design mode. Well, what if I want to see the grand total for that year? I can actually come here. I can right click on this, and I can say add total. So there's a couple of different ways that you can add a total. You can either right click on the text box, that column, or you can then go to the column groups, and I'm going to say after. And you'll notice it'll create that column afterwards, and you'll see it does a sum total here. And I think maybe, did I do this wrong? Nope, hold on. There we go. And the sum total there. So it's not going to be pretty, but let's do a preview. And now, all the way to the right, we have totals. Again, you can export these to Excel and confirm that these numbers are correct. And you will notice that the total here now sums up the bottom total as well as the column total. Totaling is just a button away, a click away, and that's really cool. And let's do, and we're going to make that so that the background is just a little prettier. And we're going to click OK. All right. So let us create a detailed report. And we're going to make it so that it's called a drill through. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a simple report, a tabular report. So that's a good place to stop and ask questions. Doug, do I have any questions?
Yes, there are a few.
Okay.
This question will probably fit in later. Is there a way to give this to end users? E.g., can I run this with some parameters from a command prompt to PDF so that I can launch it from a FoxPro application so the users can run it?
This is where you're going to actually publish this to, and this is what my customers are doing, is they're publishing it to a website, and the users then enter, the various criteria for that. I'm not covering that in this session. That's a great session that I can do in the future. But yes, your end user should be able to do that. Again, this has to be published. Right now, it's in development mode.
Okay, are numbers always formatted as text? If I want to format with commas and round to 2 decimals, do I always have to use the text formatter?
Yes, that's the way it seems to work. Now, right now, the way I have the sum totals, this is actually a numeric, so it'll come across numeric. But once I add that format number or for any kind of formatting, it now becomes text.
Okay. Can the data preparation be done elsewhere and pass it to the report? Something like in VFP where you'd prepare the cursor and then call the report to view it.
Absolutely, yes. I am not demonstrating that today, but you can actually create stored procedures, and you can call a stored procedure and get the result set back. So yes.
Okay. When I was playing with this, I deleted the row group and I couldn't figure out how to add it back.
Oh. Just right click and you should be able to add it back on the row groups. And you can do the same thing with the column, add total.
Okay, that's it for questions.
Yeah. I'm so glad to hear that you guys are playing and learning, and it's pretty easy to make a mistake. What gets me mostly is the preview, is that it saves my, oh, I just want to try this change. Backups are really helpful at this point. The other thing that would get me is if I would rename a data set and it could error on me. And I'll discuss that a little bit later if we have time, just so you know. And this is sort of, you can actually come to the report here on the, let me make this. You can right click and look at this. View code. Sometimes I get this really cryptic error, and I know that it gives me a name and something, so I actually can come in here, do a control find, and then I can find a data set, a text box, those kinds of things. And so I could then quickly discern where to make changes in the code, because I'm a software developer, and I didn't have to go through the GUI. So that's a hack, but it can be a very useful hack. And I want you to be aware that you can do that. However, it's a great way to mess up your code too. So I'm not going to change anything here. I'm just going to close that back down. All right. All right. So was there any other questions?
Yeah, just a couple more.
Okay.
So Rick, who had asked earlier about deleting the row group and then adding it back again,
Yeah.
After your comment, he said that it didn't work if no row group was present.
Oh, you deleted the main line here is what he's saying? Probably.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, me neither. You can add groups as well.
Okay.
Okay. So right click, have fun, right?
Bill asks, can you add your own export types to the export list?
I have not tried that. So I don't know. My guess is maybe. I don't know. If you go to the preview, it's pretty extensive. Well, you know, it even goes CSV. I'm not real sure. There isn't JSON there or anything else, but there is XML. So I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's
Any other questions?
No, that's
okay.
it.
Excellent. Okay, so let's move on to the drill through. And I'm going to get a quick drink here because my mouth is dry. All right. All right, so the drill through. One of the things about the data source is we can embed it and then it becomes a part of that report. However, we can also convert it to a shared data source. So multiple reports can share that data source, and that's what we're going to do here. Okay, and it's thinking. All right, and now I'm actually going to come here and I'm going to add a new report. There are other ways to add reports, but this is a beginner's 101 course, so we're just going to come here and hey, look, we're at the Welcome to the Report Wizard again, my friendly neighborhood wizard. So we're going to go next, and look, it knew that I had made this AdventureWorks shared, so I don't have to fill in all of this other content. So let me click next. And here is the query builder again. And again, I can, and we're going to go into the query builder, but we're going to do it in a different stage. And if I don't get to the query builder, we can always do it in the question and answer, as well as it's talked about extensively in the white paper. So anyway, so I already had a formatted Excel SQL statement, and basically what it's pulling is the detail, the sales detail, and it's including customer name, each line item, the product number, you know, how much it costs, that kind of stuff. So pretty easy peasy. It just looks complicated, more complicated. Again, we're going to do a tabular report. But again, if you radio button, but again, tabular. Next. So here we are going to do the sales number, and and we can double click or drag. If I double click, it won't let me double click because it's not telling me. I can't tell it, but I can click my control button and click my mouse, and I can do multiples, and then I can drag it over there. So good enough. And then product name, quantity, price, you can, you know, pick whatever you like here, and I can drag it over to details. Again, look at the icon on the picture on the right, and you can see how it's changing. So next, I'm going to do a block with the table layout. You can specify stepped, and you can see the picture, or blocked, and it's a little more compressed. And I'm not going to worry about including subtotals here, but what's really cool is you could. So I'm going to click next, and I'm just going to call this sales details. Good enough. And you can see where it fills in all of the report summary and so forth and so on. And if I do a preview, and I finish, And there was a parameter in there as well. And because it's, it's doing what it's doing, I think it's, we'll see if I get this right. And I think it's maybe 2013. And I think maybe this is the month. Let me make sure. We'll see. Bad. Oh, I did it backwards. Okay, my bad. Where that's 2000. I knew, should have known. I had it right the first time. So he loads, and you can see that it's looking at the sales details, and I forgot the date on there. So I'm going to have to go back. So there's the, let's go back to detail, and we're not going to do a whole lot with this, but I am going to go to the data set, and I want to go to the data set properties, and I'm just going to call this sales detail. And I'm going to include, I want to include the order year, which I do not see in my notes. So that's a, oh, there it is, order date, my bad. Okay, so I'm going to click, okay, so it is there. I just forgot to include it in my report. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to insert a column, I'm going to insert it to the left. And I'm going to call it sales date. And I'm going to right click here. Click my mouse here, and I'm going to pull in the sales date. So now if I do a preview, I get an error. Oh, lovely. Because of the grouping. Okay, so I've totally messed this up. Let me just, because it's not a part of the grouping. Yay. I'm not going to try to figure this out. I'm going to pull my one that I have pre-cooked. Okay. There you go. So voila, swap it around. Okay, so there's my, there's the detail. Okay, and this one I have the order date in here. Excellent. And here are the parameters. Let's go look at those parameters, because the parameters right now are very important. And I've done some editing on it. And here, the prompt is start. And I'm going to make that it's visible. Available values, nothing. Default. And here's the expression I'm going to give. So with this, I'm going to come here, and I'm going to say I want, and here's another way. There's a function under common functions, under date time, where it is today. So, like date. And then I can say year minus 10. Okay. So that's some stuff you can play with. And then cancel that. And then the year parameter, the end year, that's the month. Okay. And the default value here is an expression as well. And I have it saying, today's date, the year for today's date. So cancel that. So if, I'm looking at the wrong one. Order detail. All right, but it says month. Parameter. Okay, I'm just going to follow this through. So if I do a preview, somehow my parameters are getting messed up. So that's what I thought. Anyway, we'll go back to this. So I have it so that my month will select whatever month that I want, and then I can select the year. And if I view the report, it should show me the details for July 2013. It's thinking. Okay, so we can see July 7, 2013. And if we go all the way to the bottom, and the question mark will show you that, it's not real sure, it's still trying to figure out. And we can see if we go all the way to the bottom, we're still in July. So we know that that's working. I'm not sure what's going on. So So for the sales year, here we need to go into where we want to drill through. Now that we have our details set up in the order detail, we can now come here. We can right click and go to text box properties, okay? And here there's an action. All right. And for that action, we can tell it that we want to go to a specific report. And so we're going to go from the sales year month report to the order detail per year month report. And the parameters that we're going to be passing in is called end month. And what I can do, let me show you. If I delete this, I'll just show you. And then add, I can say end year because it's just a drop down. And then I can tell you what column it's going to be using for that parameter to pass through to the detail. So now if I were to preview this, you'll notice my year, it's just a regular arrow. However, if I go over the number, it's now a little pointer finger. So I can now click that, and I'm going to go the year 2012 to the year January, and it takes me to all the details. So if I go to the bottom of this report, you can still see I'm in January. This report isn't pretty, but it's just basically to demonstrate a powerful thing that you can do by connecting these reports and drilling through to details. Okay, and there's a new button that's highlighted and it says back to parent report. One of the things is if I were to come here and change any of this and I click view report, it doesn't change from what you can see. It went back to January. This is really tied into the parent report. So you actually have to go back to the parent and then click on another column. This is March 2013, and it'll now take me to March. Okay, so, and I know I flew through that. So there's the, and this is on the sales. So if I come then to the detail, it should reload the report data, and you can now see the data set with data set 1. And this is on the order detail report. And the parameters, there's my month and my year. It's interesting that it was showing start year and end year. Let me go to those parameters now so you can see how I had these parameters set up. So here, available values, I just added the specifics, okay? So, and the value would be 1, 2, 3. You can also, what's really nice, and it's in the white paper, you can actually create values from a query. And that's done in the simple report. And I have 15 more minutes, so we might get to that. And then cancel this. And then the year, let's go here. The default value, there is none, and available. And I just hard-coded 2011, 12, 13, and 14. Again, you could get values from a query as well. And it didn't lose my changes. Phew! All right. Are there any questions with the drill through?
No questions.
Excellent. Yeah, apologize for the snafu with my my column selection. Okay, so there's the matrix with the drill through report. So let's close this since we have 15 more minutes, I believe. We're going to close this. And we're going to go back to and create a simple report. And let's just step through the code again. So we're going to do create the project. Okay, let me get to my notes. And then and we're going to do and you can select from the report project wizard here. You can select. So I'm going to do this. We're going to go next, and we're going to call this a simple report, and we're going to put it in my folder here, and we're going to go create. Yay, in our friendly neighborhood wizard. So there, the data source, we're going to select a new data source. And again, it's same as before. I'm going to call it AdventureWorks. We're going to go into Edit because we're doing SQL Server. I need to specify my server name. And then I want the database, AdventureWorks 2017. I'm going to test the connection. Yay, it worked. I'm going to click OK. So again, the connection string has been filled in. Next, here's where I want to talk about the query string. Okay. So here, the query builder, I can do like I did before where I just inserted a query string. And a lot of times I will just insert the query string. I've already gone to SQL Server. I tested out, proved out my SQL works and that the content from my SQL statement works. So, but let me show you this query builder. I've got a few more minutes here. So with that is this query designer. And it's a pretty cool little tool here. So up above, I can start adding tables. And you can also see where you can execute. By right-clicking, you can do many things. But I'm going to add a table. And here, I am going to add the country region. And if I double-click, watch the background. Double-click. Voila, it just shows up. I love that. And then I come down to state province. There it is. And I can either double click or I can do an add here. So I'm going to click add. Yay. And then I'm going to close. And it's smart enough to figure out, because of the naming convention, that it can connect the two tables. So here, so now the other thing I want to show you too is down here below in this middle pane, you can see it's done a select from. You'll notice that there's nothing here, and I need columns for it to select from. But you'll see it's already done the region. Oh, and I selected the wrong one. That's sales. And let me remove that and do the right one. Add a table. Country region. I selected the wrong one. Okay, but it still remembers. Okay, excellent. Glad I caught that. So the select statement has no columns in it, but if you watch, I can select, there's a name and the country code. If I select that, it puts it there. And then I can come here and I can select the provenance code and I can select the name. So well done. And so it automatically fills it in for me. What's also nice in this other pane is you'll notice the columns. So I have two names here. And you'll know that it looks at, so I know this one's coming from region, country region. Here, this one's state province. And you'll notice that the name says expression 1. Well, let's make the name for the country name. Okay. And then I can make this say state name, or I can just remove that. So, so my alias, so you can set up aliases here as well. Okay. What's also nice here is that you can do sorts. And I'm going to sort ascending. And then by the country, I'm also going to sort ascending by the state name. So, and you'll notice sort 1 and sort 2. And I can move this around any way I want. And you can just set things up. It's really quite nice. And then here's your SQL statement. It's done it all for you. I like mine a little bit better formatted, but you know, it does the job. And what's really cool is I can come here and I can run. And you can see that I have, it's an inner join. So I'm not going to have all of the countries. It's going to have only those countries that have state or province names. So Australia, you know, those kinds of things. So Canada, France, and the United States. Okay, so there's one other thing I want to talk about, and that is here. Here it shows me the inner joins. So I can come here and select, and it will create, you can see that little arrow pointing to the country region table. And you can see left outer join. Pretty cool. I can also right click and I can say select all the ones from the state. And now it's doing a full outer join, which is awesome. And then I can, I just want all of the ones from the country. So anyway, so there you go. So, and I'm noticing that this is slightly different because I added the state province first and this region second. And that's slightly different from the white paper, but it still works. So, but let's do this. What if I were to, so left outer join, so different results. So here we're getting, this is a left outer join, and what if we were to make it an inner join? Join. And then run that. And there we got the 181 again. So you can see you can make changes through the graphical interface, or you can make changes in the query string itself. So let's click next. So there's our SQL statement. Next, we're doing a tabular. Next, the country name, we're going to move here, and I'm going to do the state name under details. And you can see how it moves that little box around. So let's go next, and I like block, and we're going to click next, and I'm going to call it country, state, province listing, control listing. There you go. And I'm going to preview it, finish. Think. Again, my preview bar is missing. But look, we've got a nice little listing, exactly what we would expect. And then we can come to the design and start just playing to our little heart's content. And we can make things wider and bigger as we see fit. The other thing we could do is add parameters, so we can select from a country. Say we want to see various countries, so we can actually come in here, and I can come right here and add a data set. So, and I'm going to call this country, country, and I'm going to use an embedded. So I'm just going to select AdventureWorks, just so I can get this to work, and I'm going to click OK. So there you go. So now, what did I do that for? Well, I want to be able to add parameters. So if I come here, I want to add a parameter, and I'm going to call it country name. Oops. And I'll just see country name. How's that? And the prompt will be country name. And what's nice, available values, country, and country name, and country name. Click OK. Sweet. So now, if I were to do a preview, I can now select Canada or Cambodia. Let's do Canada, and view the report, and it doesn't filter. Well, what did I miss? Well, we actually have to tell the query for the data set 1 that we're actually going to pass in parameters. So if I come here and I add a where clause and country name 1, and I'm going to refresh, And if I come to parameters here, there's my parameter, and I'm going to select from the parameter value. So now, the other thing that I want to change, instead of doing one at a time, come back here. I can actually select multiple values. Let me click OK. Let me click Preview. So I can go to Canada. I've got to get used to this interface. Let's go to United States and England. That's good enough for right now. So you can see we got Canada, United Kingdom, and United States. It doesn't take long to create a pretty nice report, and then we can pretty it up. What's nice too with SQL Server with the Visual Studio is I can then come here. Let me open up a different matrix report. I just want to show you this real quick. Where I can actually come here. In these two expressions, I can Control C. I can now come here, add a page footer, click in there, and Control B. And I didn't have to reprogram it all, it was just there. So it makes it super simple to make changes to reports. And it's an easy way to break things too. So come here. I ran into a situation where I created 2 text box 2s, and of course it complained. So I'm just going to view report, and there you go. So voila, we got it printed on and the page. Do we have any questions?
Yes. Is there by chance a tool that will convert VFP reports over to SSRS that you know of?
No. I can tell you that these reports are, it creates XML. So if you go to the code, let's see, not code cleanup, code view. If you can translate that, sure, why not? But I don't know of a tool as of right now.
So if you had a lot of reports to do, you could probably write a little tool that would take an FRX and generate some XML.
It's just code.
Yep.
It's just code.
Okay. Can I cast within the query designer?
Cast.
Like use a cast statement?
Oh, a case statement.
No, cast. No, cast.
Oh, cast. Cast. Oh, C-A-S-T, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. You would probably put it in the SQL statement. Any valid SQL Server statement will work. So you can cast in the SQL statement.
Okay, that's it. That's it.
Oh, okay. We just have a couple of minutes left, so let me go back to my slideshow and scooch over. And probably if I can figure out where my, oh, it doesn't matter, I suppose. I can turn on my camera again. There we go. Here I am. All right, so we did drill throughs. This is the page that I wanted to show, was resources. There is, of course, the things that you need to run this. There is the download for SQL Server 2019. It's a developer edition. It's free. Download Microsoft SQL Server 2019 Reporting Services. It's free. Download AdventureWorks 2019 database. When I did my presentation, got ready for this, I used 2017. There is a 2019. You're going to download a version of Visual Studio if you don't have it. There is also the Community Edition. It's free. And then download the SQL Server Data Tools for Visual Studio so you can write all these really cool reports. There's some books. There's a Create Basic Table Report, which is a tutorial online from Microsoft. It's actually pretty good. I used a book called Beginning SQL Server Reporting Services. It was a great book to get me started. There are users groups. Go check them out. There are conferences like ours. So also Google it. The SQL community just loves sharing their knowledge just as much as Fox developers do. So please do that. And in summary, we went through the graphical interface. I just barely touched what it's capable of doing. It takes time. Spend time. It's so worth it. We created a simple report, defined the data sources, created parameters, created a matrix report, did a drill through. We just scratched the surface. Play, make mistakes, have fun, all right? And then continue to rock on. I'll see you over at the question and answers, okay? Bye.